All right. Here's one of the big mistakes that a lot of people make when they're doing any kind of a critical reading passage, whether it's for the SAT or GRE or GMAT or LSAT or whatever, is that they'll actually read the passage well. They'll totally understand the passage. They got the passage 100%. They'll take, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 minutes, whatever it takes to read the passage. Then instead of taking about a minute or two to read the question and answer choices, they'll take maybe half a second to read the question and answer choices. And then, of course, they'll end up picking an answer that's kind of ridiculous. Not just wrong, not like subtly wrong, just an idiotic answer, just a totally nonsensical answer. And smart people do this. Smart people will pick answers that are not smart because they just haven't actually read the question, the answer choices they've barely looked at them. So let's take a look at this. Let's actually look and see how much text is actually in a question. Now, this is a passage from the LSAT. Don't worry about reading the passage right now. Just look at how much text there is. There's about, this much text. Now let's take a look and see how much text is in each question. Here's the first question. You'll see it has about 2 to almost 3 paragraphs worth of text. So however long it took you to read 2 or 3 paragraphs of the passage is how long it should take you to read this question and the answer choices. Not just to answer it, just to read it. And after that, you should think it through and answer it. Here are the next couple. This one is about 2 paragraphs long. This question is about the equivalent of 2 paragraphs of passage text. And this one's equivalent to maybe about a 1 paragraph of passage text. So this should take you about as long just to read the question should take you about as long as it did to read 2 paragraphs of the passage. And this would take you about as long as it would take to read 1 paragraph of the passage. Now, the error that people make is they'll say, I just need to be quick. So they'll read the question, quickly, which means they won't actually read it at all. They'll spend 1 second to read, 3 paragraphs with the text. It can't be done. And then they'll do it again, and they'll do it again, and they'll do it again. And at no point do they actually read and understand it. They just do this nonsense thing like 5,000 times. There's a saying, 1,000 fools does not make a wise man. And poorly reading something 1,000 times is not the same as reading it well once. So if you find yourself reading a question, barely, and then looking back at the passage and looking at the question back at the passage, like you haven't really read either of them well, or you're just rereading the question 50 times because you haven't read the question well, pause, slow down, and actually read what the question and the answer choices, what they actually say. And remember, this is coming from somebody that developed a system of speed reading, that used that system of speed reading to get perfect scores on the GRE and on the GMAT and finish both an hour and a half early. And I'm telling you, I read slower than most of my students claim to read when they're reading a question and the answer choices. They supposedly read, about 200 words in 1 second, which is very, very far above the maximum human reading capacity. If you're seeing this video, by the way, it means you picked an answer choice that was bizarrely wrong. Just a nonsensical answer choice. And why do smart people pick stupid answer choices? It's because if you just haven't read it. So that's the number one thing. Now, if there's something distracting you, if there's music, turn it off. If there's a TV, turn it off. If somebody's in the room distracting you, get rid of it. If there's some boneheaded distraction getting in the way of your excellence and stealing your opportunity, get rid of that. But if what's more likely, you just didn't read it because you thought you had to read the whole question in 1/10 of a second, you don't. You have more time than you think to read these questions. Just read the question, understand the answer choices, and then pick the one that makes the most sense.